I'm your host, Carolyn Solo, LCSW, EMDR therapist, and mom of three daughters. Thank you for joining me.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to episode 50 of the Future Template Parent Podcast. I'm your host, Carolyn Solo, PhD, LCSW, EMDR therapist, and mom of three daughters. Thank you for joining me. Today is kind of monumental. It's episode 50. I can't believe it. When I first had the idea for this podcast, maybe like 18 months ago, I thought it was like an impossible dream. The idea of getting it off the ground was so overwhelming. And I thought, like, how is this, ever going to happen? And here I am, 50 episodes in. It feels pretty unbelievable and exciting. I just want to thank you all for listening and for your comments and sharing it and rating it, reviewing it, and telling me what you think. It's been, so wonderful to know that this podcast is helping people. So today's a little bit of a special episode. So in honor of the 50th episode, I'm going to talk about 12 ways that EMDR intensives have changed my life in the past year. So one for each month of the 12 years of the podcast. 12 years, 12 months. And I'm not quite at the 1 year anniversary, but I'm close. I have another plan for the 52nd episode. Anyway, so I hope that some of these things inspire you to think a bit more seriously about offering them as well when I share with you what offering them has done for my life. So number one, fewer client hours per week. And this has just been huge. Before I started exclusively offering intensives just over a year ago, I was seeing, I think, an average like between 20 and 25 clients a week. I was teaching, I was writing my dissertation, I was a mom, a spouse, a friend, a daughter, a homeowner, among other things. I was so fried. And I've talked about my burnout story several times over on the podcast. So I'm not going to go into too much detail right now, but yeah, I was not okay. And the number of hours and the number of individual clients I had was just not sustainable for me. And the more I learned about intensives, the more I realized that this was kind of a path out of that for me. And as I've moved to offering mostly exclusively intensives, I think you probably know if you've been listening, I do still have a few hourly clients that I have retained. And they're actually the ones that I'm probably going to retain even when we move to Vermont. So I'm committed to them for a variety of reasons. But other than that, I don't take new hourly clients. I only see clients as, intensively for, maybe 4 hours once a month, or I do an intensive with them and then they go back to their regular therapist. So yeah, I'm down in the like 15-hour a week range, which has been such a massive quality of life improvement. And I'm also not seeing as many people for the long term. So I'm not maintaining, that role in their lives as like their go-to person, when there's a crisis or whatever. And that's a heavy burden to carry all that as well. So it does feel more workable to me, given the life stage I'm in, to see someone do a lot of work and then pass them back to their regular therapist. Um, so yeah, that's been a massive quality of life improvement of dropping my hours per week significantly. And of course, then you're immediately going to wonder, what about the loss of income, right? Fewer hours. Well, that brings me to point number two. In addition to fewer client hours per week, I also have a higher monthly income. So last week in the 49th episode, I talked about top three mistakes that therapists make when they're switching to EMDR intensives. And the first mistake that I named was charging the same for an hour of an intensive as you charge for a 50-minute weekly session. I made the argument extensively and persuasively, I like to think, that you absolutely should charge more for intensives per hour. And if you want to hear all my reasons, listen to episode 49. And when I say more per hour, well, at this point, I charge $200 an hour for a 50-minute session, I guess. For a weekly 50-minute session, $200, and $300 per hour for an intensive. So yeah, I charge more per hour. And it took me time to get to that point, but I'm there now. And I'm having no trouble maintaining clients at that level or, getting in intensive clients. In an average week these days, I'd say that 10 of my hours are intensive hours and 5 are weekly clients. I have a couple of low fee clients, so that can bring down the total amount a tiny bit, but I feel that's important to me to have those. 2 of my weekly clients are low fee clients. One is pro bono and one is $50 an hour, but that's my own personal choice. don't feel like you have to do that. It's something I have done and decided to do, but that, you absolutely do not need to. So generally in a week like that typical week, I'm bringing in 4K, $4,000. I remember when that's what I was making in a month and I was feeling good about it. So, but now in a week, 4K. I usually end up having about a week off per month for a variety of reasons. And so I'm averaging around 12K, $12,000 a month in clinical income. I also have some other income streams, teaching, coaching. And so I say I'm usually around 14K per month at this point total. And that's continuing to go up, but that's sort of where I am at right now on average for the past several months. Compared to before, let's say I was doing 20 individual hours at 150, which was what my hourly fee was averaging about a year ago. That's $3,000 a week. And I was still taking a good amount of vacation time. I would say I was closer to 10K a month, and I wasn't making as much from other income sources. So substantial increase, like about $4,000 a month more, and I'm working fewer hours. So the next thing, I was able to invest in my business a lot more, right? With that additional income. I have a virtual assistant who does a lot of my social media management and content creation and email list stuff. I have a podcast editor who edits the podcast, writes the show notes, gets it up on the podcast platforms and on YouTube. I have a business coach. I have web designers who make everything look pretty on my website and with all the sales pages I have and things like that. And why have I done? Yeah, is that expensive? Sure. But the more I hand off those things to other people who can do them better and faster than I can, the more time and energy I have to devote to things that actually grow my business, things that only I can do, right? Like create the content and record the podcast, go to trainings to become a better EMDR therapist, engage in quality networking time with other therapists. Only I can do those things, right? So why not pass off the stuff that someone else can do just as well, maybe even better, and have more time to put towards the things that I really excel at. And of course, the more time I have, the more I can show up as a, rested and competent therapist for my intensive clients. And all of these investments have moved the needle so much in my business. And it's because I don't have to spend time doing all these things that I can outsource. So one of I've like I said, social media stuff I've taken off my plate for the most part. Editing the podcast, writing show notes, getting things on the podcast platform, promoting the podcast, working on my website, writing emails for my email list, writing sales copy, writing captions for Instagram. That's off my plate. Of course, I, look over stuff to make sure it's solid and I make edits, but like the bulk of it, I'm not doing. And all those things take time. And the people I've hired do them better and faster than I do. Everything looks, sounds, reads so much more professionally than it would if I was trying to do it and if I was just rushing through it. And yeah, so I highly recommend when you have some extra income, and intensives can get you there, to invest in your business. It's going to make other things possible that aren't possible now because you simply don't have the time or energy. Business coaching, investing in business coaching has moved the needle for my business the most out of anything. Thanks to my business coach, I've had the courage to raise my rates. I've worked through the money mindset blocks I needed to get to that $300 an hour. I've actually had the courage to start and maintain the podcast. I started a coaching business. I totally overhauled my Instagram presence and made it a viable lead generator. I've learned so much more about how to market effectively from my coach. I've had someone who helps me think through screening and hiring support for my business. And my coach, importantly, is someone who's been in my shoes not that long ago, but she's considerably ahead of where I am. But a few years ago, she was sort of in the same place I am in now. So she can look at exactly what I'm doing in my business, help me see what's working, what isn't, help me streamline and improve things that need improvement. I cannot stress enough how much the strategic, critical in the best way, and supportive eyes on my business that's transformed my business. And the more someone knows your business intimately, the way my coach knows mine, the longer you stay with them and develop that relationship, the more quality input they can have. It's a there are things that it has in common with a therapeutic relationship in some ways. It's a mentor, but you really need to trust them and feel safe like entrusting your business to them, right? Because your business is a huge investment and part of who you are, and you want to trust the person who's working with you on it. So anyway, um, I'm actually going to have my coach on the podcast sometime soon to talk in more depth about, my journey and how she's helped me in so many ways. I know investing in your business can feel really hard and it can feel expensive, but it is so worth it. I'd be so much further behind where I am now if I hadn't taken a chance at investing in all of the services and support that I've gone ahead with, like zero regrets. But obviously, you need money to do that. And sometimes you got to invest before you're rolling in dough to help you get to that place. It's a hard call, like when exactly to do it. But if you're considering outsourcing or getting coaching, like it has been all of those have been incredibly worthwhile investments. Um, Number 4, I am able to take the entire summer off from clinical work and not worry about the financial impact. As you faithful pod listeners know, I'm taking June, July, and August off from clinical work, pretty much all work except for a few little things here and there, as I transition my family from the Philly suburbs to a small town in Vermont. That's right. 7 hours away. Because of the income that I had banked over the past year, I feel comfortable not working those months. I'm able to afford it. My family can handle it. And I can give the move the time it needs instead of moving in a like chaotic, messy, disorganized way that will give me massive amounts of anxiety and most likely create some issues because I haven't spent the time, you know, being intentional about the move. I'm actually able to take the time that I need and that my family needs to do this move right, which is a huge and permanent move for my family. And I want to do it the right way so that we can adjust, settle, rebuild our lives as cleanly as possible. Rebuild sounds like they're bad, but you know what I mean. Like build them in this new place. My hair is looking crazy. Um, the move is going to be hard no matter what, right? It's a huge move. And I have 3 children. And for that reason, I want to be as present and available and flexible as possible during the next 3 months to reduce the challenges that such a big move will present, right? And I've been able to do that. I am able to do that comfortably thanks to intensives. It's one of the reasons I've been doing so many over the past several months to get that money in the bank. Reason number 5, or thing number 5 that I've learned. Thanks to intensives, I'm more able to be present for my kids in terms of time and energy. A big, big part of my life, my number one job, is being a mom to my 3 daughters, 7, 5, and 2. Being a mom of 3 is a full-time job in and of itself in the most optimal of circumstances, even when everything is going right. Dropping off, picking up, doctor and dentist visits, volunteering at school events, taking kids to birthday parties and soccer practice, and making sure holidays happen the way that you want them for your kids, and making sure everyone is eating something resembling decent food 3 times a day, and having enough clean clothes to get through the week, and dealing with sleep deprivation and sicknesses, right? That's just standard kiddo stuff, parent stuff. That's a huge job. But in addition, my 7-year-old is autistic and has a lot of additional needs. She has 3 therapy appointments each week that I have to take her to. She has a lot of other medical appointments that my other kids don't have. Like she has some GI stuff that we take her to GI appointments and other things. She often needs to leave school early if she's having a rough day. So I need to be available to get her to have a flexible schedule. And intensives have provided that, right? If something comes up and there's a day where I just, I'm not going to be able to work, I can cancel an intensive day and reschedule. That's just one person rescheduling instead of trying to reschedule 6 people who are all missing their individual appointments. I can have whole days off on days when there are a lot of appointments scheduled. I can just choose not to work on that day. I can work around these complex schedules that kids have. I don't know how I'd be managing that if it weren't for intensive, like not well. And I wasn't managing it well previously. And things have just gotten more busy and complex as my kids have gotten older. And I have more energy to be present for my kids and actually enjoy them and do things with them when I'm not seeing 25 plus clients a week, doing notes, trying to go to trainings, get supervision, manage a business, right? Like I would come home with less than no energy. I'd be like a dead fish on the couch. Number 6, reason number 6, thing number 6 that I've learned, being able to have full days off during the week. Because I often schedule myself for only 3 clinical days a week because of intensive, and I've set this up this way. So I can often have 2 full days off during the work week. And I can use those days for so many things: other projects, teaching, writing, laundry, errands, taking kids to appointments, volunteering for a field trip, grocery shopping, taking a midday nap. To be honest, that doesn't happen too much, but I'd like to think that it will. Now that I'm done with my PhD, that took up a lot of the time that I wasn't doing other things. But I just can't imagine going back to a 5-day clinical week or even a 4-day. Um, I just can't do that for my energy and at the life stage I'm at now. And thanks to intensives, I don't need to. I'm not sacrificing anything. The seventh thing I've learned or I've gained from offering intensive, more time for self care, right? So, in addition to the things I mentioned doing on my days off each week, you know, quote, productive things, I can also engage in some real self care, the ever elusive self care for moms, like exercise. I Moving my body has always been my number one self-care activity, like, for my whole life, and then having kids really put a wrench in that. But now I'm able to prioritize moving my body on those days when I'm not working. Walking, running, biking, weightlifting, whatever. I will prioritize moving my body always as my first form of self-care, but it's so hard to fit in as a mom, right? I have exactly 9 hours of childcare, 8:30 to 5:30, to get everything done that needs to happen. 'Cause once my kids are home, it's all mom all the time, right? So if I'm working a traditional job, 9 to 5 and commuting and everything, I don't have any time left. Zero hours. um, and I need to be getting some sleep. Like, I guess I could get up at 4 in the morning and exercise, and I have a lot of respect for people who do. I used to do that. That doesn't actually work well with my family and my kids' needs right now, maybe when they're older. But, my kids wake up a lot, and they still do, and if I'm not in the house because 'cause I'm out running, that could cause a lot of issues, so that just doesn't work for us. Um, doesn't work for us. But anyway, so those are the hours I have when I have childcare and the kids are in school and stuff, and if I don't use that time for exercise, it's not gonna happen, right? Um, so days off during the week, I can do that, and that makes me feel more connected to myself than anything else, more connected to the person I feel like I am and the person who values the things that matter to me. Um, I've also had more time for a couple of other self-care things I truly enjoy. I've been able to get a massage every couple of months and maybe even once a month meet up for coffee or lunch with a friend. I was not able to do that at all. Like, I didn't have a social life when I was full-time momming and full-time working. Like, I would, random texts here and there, send a funny meme to someone I hadn't seen in a month. That was my social life. And since we're moving in a couple of months from a place that I've lived for, let's see, it will be 16 years, it's precious to have time to connect with people I care about, right? Because I'm not going to be seeing them very much. I'm not going to be close to them soon. Number 8, I was able to finish my PhD in social work with a full-time practice and while being a mom of 3. I kind of think that speaks for itself, and I've talked about it before, but I started my PhD in September 2017 when my oldest had just turned 1. And I didn't do clinical work from when I started that until 2020, January 2020, just to give you a sense of the time frame. So I spent the last 3 years on my dissertation. So 2021 to 2024, formulating the project, getting it approved, completing all of the interviews, analyzing the data, and writing up the 200 pages that it took to write out. It took everything I had to get that done. Like, every ounce of my being was focused on that when I wasn't doing other things. Like, the compartmentalization was unbelievable. Um, but it would have been absolutely impossible if I didn't have the time freedom that offering intensives gave me. So think about what you could do, what big project or goal you might be able to tackle with that freedom, right? I was able to invest in time-wise and financially my own EMDR intensives with my own therapist. I was going monthly for 4 hours, and I reached some personal therapy goals that I've been struggling with for years. Not only could I afford, but I had the schedule flexibility to allow for them. Obviously, self-care there too. Um, so since last summer, I've been meeting with her for 4 hours a month, and then also one virtual appointment during that month. Also, her office is an hour away, so the total time of the intensive would be 6 hours, right? I would drive there, 4 hours, drive back, right? So schedule flexibility was so important. Number 10, I could start and maintain a podcast because of this time freedom. And as you all know, I'm hugely proud of this. Not only is it a passion project, like something I really wanted to do, and I really believe in spreading free information and tips about how transformative EMDR intensives can be for you, for your practice and for your clients. So I just felt really passionate about that message. But the podcast has also been transformative for my coaching business. It's been an invaluable lead generator and marketing tool for my coaching. And it's been a phenomenal kind of like top of funnel content piece where all the other content I create comes basically from the podcast. So it's a great source of all sorts of content for me to repurpose in other ways. Um, my coaching business would not be where it is without the podcast. And it's just been a goal that I've had for a long time. And I, wasn't sure I had the bandwidth and energy for it, but with the change in schedule and the time freedom of intensive, it's happened that I've made it to 50 episodes before my 1 year anniversary of the pod. I think June 7th. Yes, that's also my wedding anniversary. June 7th was the premiere of the podcast. Like the first 3 episodes came out on June 7th. So today is May 13th. Yeah, so we're almost at 1 year. But yeah, thanks to intensive and the time freedom, I could do that. I also had the bandwidth to really officially get my business coaching business up and running with that freedom. Um, I think my coaching business, I would say, kind of officially started on June 1st, 2023. So it's about a year old, coaching other therapists on how to get intensives up and running in their practice, both from the business side and marketing and everything, and also from the clinical side. Um, and I like to think that my offer is unique in that it focuses on both of those things. Like, not only is it like, here's how you get clients, but here's what you do in an intensive once you get those clients. Here's how to craft an incredibly effective and sophisticated and memorable therapy experience for your clients. Um, so yeah, I do feel like my coaching is unique in that. And, the VIP day is the one-to-one version of it. And then my group coaching program starting in September will be a group version of that. Um, and I'm already if you're interested in the group, you can certainly let me know and I can make sure you're on the wait list because I do anticipate it will fill kind of quickly. I've had people be interested in it and I'm aiming for like somewhere between, I think my ideal would be 8 people in it and I would cap it at 10. So anyway, just a little, if you're interested in that and that sounds like something you'd want to do, let me know and I'll make sure that I have you on my interest list. And yeah, as you know, starting a business is no joke, as you all know who have practices and other businesses, and nor was this one. Like it took time, it took energy, it took brain space, it meant logistical stuff had to be done. And if I didn't have the time freedom of intensive, it would not have happened, right? Which is another reason I'm so passionate about teaching therapists how to do this because you also can have that time freedom. And what could you possibly do at that time? There's so many things. I think I've given you some ideas today, I hope. The last way intensives have changed my life. I took 40 days of vacation in 2023. 40 days. That's the equivalent of 8 weeks. Okay. What are some of the things I did? I took an entire week off at Christmas. I think even a couple plus a couple days. I did 2 different weeks in Vermont for trips. I took my kids and I went to Disney World for 5 days. I went on a week-long beach trip with my kids. There were lots of scattered long weekends, 4-day weekends, random days off here and there. 40 days of vacation. Like, that's better than like European country vacation. And I don't know about you, but when I was at community mental health, I got 2 weeks of vacation. And that was it. And, sure, my vacation is not, quote, paid because I am in business for myself, but I make enough through offering intensives that it doesn't, you know, it's more than sufficient to allow me to take that much time. And that's another reason why you got to charge what you need to charge to accommodate for that recuperation time that you desperately need. That goes into the fee that you charge because that's why your clients are getting such a good service is because you are showing up as the best version of yourself, which is what they deserve, but they got to pay for that. So I want you to be able to have all of this and I want to help you. I have a couple of VIP day slots left between now and September. I have 2. And like I said, in September, my 3-month group coaching program will begin. It's going to be just like December 1st through the end of 2024. Depends on exact. It's designed to be a 12-week course. So I just have to map out the dates exactly. More on that to come soon. And if you'd like some support, please reach out to me and talk, and we can talk about what might work well for you. And if you're working towards certification in EMDR, VIP days and coaching hours count. So just so you know that, group coaching as well. Yeah. So today was all about the 12 ways that offering intensives in my practice has changed my life in honor of the 50th episode. If this resonated with you and you have more questions, please reach out. A great way to reach me is on Instagram at Future Template Parent, or you can check out my website, www.futuretemplateparent.com. If you haven't already, make sure to get on my email list so you don't miss anything about updates and podcast episodes. Next week, it's going to be a rare interview episode. I'm interviewing my one and only virtual assistant, Maria Romano, who specializes in social media and marketing services for therapists and wellness professionals. She's been an incredible asset to my business, and I'm excited for her to share some tips with you all. You won't want to miss it. Talk to you then, and thank you again for helping me make it to 50 episodes, and have a wonderful week. And happy Mother's Day to all you moms.